Why do some people lose interest in others within days, sometimes hours? Is it because they're commitment phobic, emotionally unavailable? Or is there something deeper happening in the brain that nobody talks about? If you've ever felt that initial spark with someone, only to watch it fade faster than you can explain, you're about to discover why your brain works this way. And no, you're not broken for feeling this. Here's what most people won't tell you. That rapid loss of interest isn't about having impossible standards or a bad attitude. It's not because you're incapable of connection or destined to be alone. If you've ever met someone who seemed perfect on paper, felt genuinely excited about getting to know them, and then suddenly found yourself feeling absolutely nothing just weeks later, you're experiencing something that affects millions of people. The guilt, the confusion, the wondering what's wrong with you, it's more common than you think. And there's actual psychology behind why this happens. Psychology that has nothing to do with your character and everything to do with how your brain processes connection. Let's start with the psychological traits that make some people lose interest rapidly, because understanding this changes everything. People who experience this pattern often have what psychologists call high novelty seeking combined with deep pattern recognition. Your brain is essentially running two programs simultaneously. The first program craves new information, new experiences, new people. You're intellectually curious, you love the discovery phase, the mystery of someone unknown. This isn't superficiality, it's how your dopamine system rewards exploration. But here's where it gets complicated. The second program is your pattern recognition system, and it's working overtime. Within the first few conversations, your brain is cataloging everything. The way they phrase things, their values, their emotional patterns, how they handle conflict, what makes them laugh. Most people collect this data slowly over months. Your brain screenshots it in days. You're not trying to find flaws, you're just processing at a different speed. By the time most people are still in the honeymoon phase of curiosity, you've already mapped the entire landscape of who this person is. The mystery is solved. The dopamine reward for novelty disappears. And suddenly, you feel nothing. It's not that they became boring, it's that your brain already knows the story and craves a new book. This trait often appears in people with higher intelligence and creativity scores. Your brain needs complexity to stay engaged. Simple, predictable patterns don't hold your attention. Not because you're judgmental, but because your neural pathways literally stop firing rewards once the pattern is understood. You're not losing interest in the person, you're losing interest in the predictability. Now let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain when this pattern unfolds, because this is where neuroscience gets fascinating. Your brain operates on a neurotransmitter called dopamine, and it's crucial to understand that dopamine isn't about pleasure, it's about anticipation. It's the chemical of wanting, not having. When you meet someone new, your brain releases dopamine in response to uncertainty. Who are they? What will they say next? How will this unfold? That rush you feel isn't love, it's your prediction system activating. But here's the critical part that most people don't realize. Some brains have what researchers call rapid dopamine adaptation. Once your brain recognizes a pattern, once it can predict outcomes, dopamine production drops dramatically. This isn't a flaw, it's efficiency. Your brain evolved to pay attention to threats and opportunities, not to things it's already figured out. The moment you can predict how someone will respond, how they'll react, what they'll say, your brain categorizes them as known and diverts attention elsewhere. Studies on dopamine receptor sensitivity show that people with certain genetic variations experience this adaptation much faster than others. It's literally in your DNA. Additionally, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for complex analysis and future planning, might be more active during initial interactions. While others are feeling emotions, you're unconsciously analyzing compatibility, long-term potential, pattern sustainability. By the time your emotional system catches up, your analytical system has already reached a conclusion. The interest fades not because you're cold, but because your brain has already run the simulation and determined the outcome. This is why you might feel guilty about losing interest. Your emotions haven't caught up to what your cognition already knows. Environment and past experiences play an enormous role in shaping this pattern, and this is where things get deeply personal. If you grew up in an environment where emotional inconsistency was normal, where people were loving one day and distant the next, your nervous system learned to stay alert during the uncertainty phase. The unpredictability kept you engaged because your survival system needed to monitor for safety. As an adult, your brain still equates uncertainty with alertness and predictability with disengagement. Once someone becomes consistent and safe, the part of your brain that was conditioned to stay vigilant relaxes. And what you interpret as losing interest is actually your nervous system recognizing there's no threat to monitor. Similarly, if you experienced relationships where depth came slowly, or where people revealed themselves in layers over years, you might have learned that real connection takes sustained mystery. Modern dating culture, with its rapid disclosure and immediate intensity, doesn't match that blueprint. People reveal everything within weeks. Social media shows you their entire personality before you've had a third date. And your brain, expecting a slow unfolding, instead gets everything at once and categorizes it as complete. You're not losing interest because they're not good enough. You're losing interest because there's nothing left to discover, and your brain was trained to expect a longer mystery. So, when does this pattern become a genuine concern? It's important to recognize the difference between having high standards and using rapid loss of interest as a shield against vulnerability. If you find that you lose interest the moment someone shows genuine care, the moment they want commitment, or the exact moment things start feeling safe, that's worth examining. If this pattern leaves you feeling chronically empty, unable to form any lasting connections, or if you're sabotaging relationships that could be meaningful simply because the novelty wore off, that might indicate an attachment issue worth exploring with a therapist. The key question is this: are you losing interest because you genuinely don't connect? Or are you losing interest because connection terrifies you? If every single person becomes uninteresting within the same time frame, if you're chasing an idealized version of connection that doesn't exist in reality, or if you feel distressed by your inability to maintain interest, those are signs that professional support could help you understand the deeper patterns. Therapy isn't about fixing you. It's about understanding whether you're protecting yourself from intimacy or genuinely seeking a level of complexity most people don't offer. Understanding the psychology behind why you lose interest quickly helps you recognize this isn't a character flaw. Your brain processes information faster, seeks complexity, and adapted to patterns shaped by your unique experiences. You're not incapable of love. You're wired to need more depth, more mystery, more sustained complexity than surface-level connection provides. And honestly, that's not something to apologize for. If this resonated with your experience, share your thoughts in the comments. Understanding yourself is the first step to finding connections that actually match how your mind works. For more content that helps you make sense of your patterns without judgment, subscribe because you deserve to understand yourself, not change yourself.